Downer is very proud to bring this podcast series to you. At Downer, our purpose is to provide the vital services that connect communities and enable them to thrive. We do this by assembling the best minds, harnessing the power of technology and our enduring relationships to deliver sustainable outcomes for all.
My name is Jo Taranto and I'm joined today by Keith Dimech, the Environment and Sustainability Manager, and Aaron Sacagio, the National Environment and Sustainability Manager for Infrastructure and Major Projects, both from John Holland. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
I'm going to start with you, Aaron. What are the current challenges for sustainability and net zero as you see it in the water and construction industries?
So the biggest challenge for us at the moment is the carbon or the decarbonisation of our industry to meet the government targets that we've got to have in the future, we've got to meet in the future, and the data and the understanding of our actual carbon footprint at the moment in our projects from a construction and an operations point of view, a design point of view as well. That's the biggest challenge, is understanding that, and then how do we deliver that carbon reduction without having to rely on offsets.
Has that been a big shift for the industry? It
has been a big shift. It's taking a lot of effort, and at the moment it's about more about consolidating everyone's effort into the one direction. There's a lot of people moving in a lot of different directions at the moment, I feel.
You mentioned that you work across both the water industry and other industries as well. Are there some similarities as well as some differences?
There's a lot of similarities. It's very client driven in the sustainability space and the decarbonisation space. On different clients are wanting different things in different ways, and that's across the board, whether it be infrastructure, major projects, or the water space. But I'm finding that the water clients are actually more advanced in their sustainability discussions, mainly because they've got really steep targets that they've set themselves for decarbonisation.
What sort of targets are you looking at?
So in the water space particularly, a lot of organisations are targeting a carbon neutral operation by 2030, not necessarily the construction of carbon emissions, but definitely the operations. And that's really a challenge for us and our design partners to deliver that low carbon solution for our clients so that they don't have to rely on offsets as much.
You've got to love an ambitious goal.
Very ambitious.
Tell me, Keith, you have particularly been focusing on Scope 3 reporting. What has that meant for the industry?
Look, I think on Scope 3, the imminent change is legislation has been brought forward, which will require all industries to report their Scope 3, so their embodied materials quantities that they're using across their projects, and that's an ambitious target. It's coming in next year. And in construction, we basically represent the Scope 3 for our clients, especially in the water industry, the concrete and the steel they use. So having a standardised approach on how we report that is going to be a massive change and a massive challenge for John Holland and for our clients, especially because you'll have the way that someone reports their concrete at one project and one client and one contractor might be different just up the road. So I think that the way we approach that is going to be quite a challenge, but it's probably something that we're best suited for at John Holland.
So how then are you involved in responding to these challenges?
Well, for John Holland, it's about how do we embed emissions reductions from the design phase, but then also how do we put pressure back on our suppliers and our supply chains to also come to the party and deliver with more sustainable products that we can then use and put into the buildings that we're constructing. I think where John Holland can help is bringing our systems and processes that we've been taking off maybe at the major road and rail projects that have been being delivered over the last 10 years, those lessons, and then bringing them across to the water industry, because the water industry is about to have a similar sized boom in the amount of construction, and the industry's changed a lot in the last 10 years, and how we can bring those lessons learned and the systems and processes into the next decade.
I would add to that the client specifications at the moment are quite restrictive on alternative, more sustainable materials. So they are slowly changing, but again, it's for them it's durability. When they buy a plant, they want it to last as long as it possibly can, and so having innovative materials that are low carbon materials that haven't been tried and tested over a long period of time is usually very difficult. So we're working very closely with our clients in developing innovative concrete mixes. We're even looking with geopolymer with the University of New South Wales, which is a no cement concrete mix. We're working with suppliers in Western Sydney on the Upper South Creek project. We've done trials there where we're using glass as bedding sand, recycled glass as bedding sand, or we're doing asphalt trials, low sustainable asphalt trials that actually has coffee cups in the asphalt and things like that. So we're doing little trials here, there and everywhere to allow our clients to see the performance of the product and then hopefully change their specs to more of a performance-based specification.
No one wants to be the first, to pour 15,000 cubic metres of concrete and not sure if it's going to work.
And it fails,
Yeah. But there actually are across especially Europe and across all different jurisdictions, that there is a lot of evidence that these more sustainable products have places in construction. But it does take that courage from our designers, from John Holland engineers, from the clients, from everyone to sort of, yep, this has worked, let's do it on our project. And so I think that step change and that thought change will be important. And it requires embedding sustainability in conversations in a similar way that we talk about safety in conversations in construction. Safety is a non-negotiable now. Maybe it wasn't 20 years ago. So I think it's about changing that conversation and really getting people interested in it and looking to improve.
It is quite a step change, really, isn't it, for the industry? And it must feel a bit like your roles have moved into a bit of research and development as well as sustainability reporting.
Negotiating.
So, the negotiating.
Salesman,
So all of that comes into it, definitely.
Which must also be really fascinating because you're looking at how new materials respond and what they can potentially do for your clients.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Australian Water Association podcast series, and I'm speaking with Keith Dimech and Aaron Sacagio from John Holland. You mentioned before, Aaron, just before we were having a chat, about the fact that you're technology agnostic, and I gave you a blank look. What does it mean to be technology agnostic?
So we don't actually have a partnership with any specific technology. So what we're able to do is when our clients come to us and say we want to build a treatment plant and we want it to be this type of plant, we can look at that and assess it and go, well, actually, if it was this type of plant, you might actually get a carbon reduction, a cost and operation reduction. It might cost you more to build now, but over the next 30, 40 years of the operation of this plant, it's going to actually save you millions in this space. So we've done that recently with the Drapers Road water treatment plant in Cairns, where the client came to us, they wanted a MF plant, a membrane filtration plant. And we looked at it and went, well, actually, if you did a DAF plant, dissolved aeration plant, it would actually save you a lot of money in the long run. And it saved them significant operational costs every year in the order of about $1 million a year saving in energy. Which then obviously has carbon offsets and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the key. If you've got a net zero target, you're going to have to offset that with some sort of price mechanism. And so if you can reduce your carbon in operations early on, and it does require people thinking about it early on and having the courage to go with more sustainable options early, but it will save us time and money and hopefully the environment as well in the long run.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have then if you're embarking on net zero, ambitious net zero target, is start early and look across all the operations?
Yeah, I think start early and engage, all the way from the concept and the project development phase. And for me, it's all about the data. Make sure you're collecting standardized relational data that you can look at your project you delivered in 2025 and get useful information out of that project and help you get a reduce your carbon projects on the next construction project and the one after that. And you can only do that if you're going off the same metrics. So for me, it's about the way we track and use data.
Yeah. For me, it's around collaboration. So you need to be, similar to your point, you need to be engaging early, but you need to be open and honest and having those conversations. And that's not just us as a contractor, it's the clients, it's our supply chain as well. And understanding what the actual goal is and everyone moving towards that goal. So it's about that collaboration and actually keeping an open mind through the whole process.
Well, it's pretty fascinating stuff, and it must be exciting to work on. I've been speaking with Keith Dimech, the Environment and Sustainability Manager, and Aaron Sacagio, the National Environment and Sustainability Manager, both from John Holland. Thanks for chatting with me.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.